Hey, Storm fans, how's it going out there? We are very excited. I have Coach Thomas and Dr. Cody Walters here. Doc, you want to tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the Storm?
Well, I've known Gary for about 7, 8 years now, and he recruited my son. My son played for him here at Dodge JUCO, and he was here for 2 years. And then Gary and I became friends afterwards. And he came up with this idea once that he became the coach that I might want to sponsor something to do and become involved with the Storm, and that's how it kind of all happened.
You must be hurting for friends if you're being friends with Gary.
Totally desperate.
Well, what can you tell us? How excited are you about what this year's going to be?
Oh, I think just not only me, but I think the whole community is just totally excited about the possibilities of such a high level indoor game coming to this small market possibilities. Not only to mention that, you've got local kids that are going to be involved, that are actually going to be playing, which should create even more excitement. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for Dodge City.
Heck yeah. Speaking of, we've got a few new signings recently that we haven't really had a chance to discuss.
Right.
And both feel free to jump in at any time. I'm actually going to pull my phone out because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody.
For sure.
But let's start with Evan Darville. Got him, local Dodge City kid.
Yep.
Went to Hayes, coming back.
Yeah. So Evan, we're excited about him. And kind of weird how it came about, but both being here in Dodge, I never really got a chance to know the kid.
Yeah.
When he was a senior, I was already out, so our paths never crossed in recruiting and anything like that. He ended up going Division I out of Dodge City, which there's not been, over the years, very many kids that have had the opportunity to go play Division I football. He ended up coming back to Dodge City Junior College. Then COVID hit, so his season got shut down. He ended up at Fort Hays. I think now on the Fort Hays team there might be 6 Dodge City guys, but 2 of their better defensive players were Dodge City high school guys, and he graduated. He still has a year left of eligibility. He's going to forgo that. He's getting ready to get married. So he's got a fiance. He's, living in the area again. He's going to get a job. So I approached him, with the idea, and honestly didn't take a lot of convincing. He kind of said, I'm not foregoing my senior year because I don't love football. I just tired. COVID guys have been in college for a long time.
Long time.
He said, I'm kind of over and kind of done with it. But he was like, man, if I could work and play football, that would be pretty cool. And, he's a guy that it's going to be unique depending on where these rules fall at the end of, he's a guy that's willing to come over and play some offense if we have to follow, Ironman rules. And it's kind of seems like it's trending that direction where at least up front will be Ironman. So he'll be doing something new. But defensively, if you watch his film, he plays with great leverage. If you even go back to high school, he's a 380 power clean guy. He's a freak of an athlete, and to be a 2-year starter in the MIAA, generally you're a pretty good football player. And we're fortunate to have him. And obviously he helps put butts in the seats, and it'll be good. It's good for the community. It's good for us as a football. It's just everybody wins in his situation.
I know that's what we built this on, is local talent where we can get them back. And we've got a handful of guys that we signed that are local that we didn't sign them because they're local guys. We signed them because they have the talent.
And I've made sure that people understand we're not going to sacrifice wins for local guys. They'll fire you faster for losing than they will for not playing with local guys. So it benefits everybody when we can do it with a local guy, and we're fortunate to have a few that are I think is as good as anybody that they're going to play against on other rosters, and they just happen to be from the area.
Marcel Barbie, receiver, went out of Texas State, had good numbers coming out of college. What can you tell us about what attracted you to him?
So I got to watch him play in person when he played at Iowa Western. Didn't coach against him. He played the year after I got out, and he was their kind of their marquee big name guy. Just so happens he's from Colorado. So this actually is the closest indoor, highest level, closest indoor to his hometown in Pueblo. And but I got a chance to watch him in person. Good football player. So a gentleman by the name of Jamar Johnson, who's a good friend of mine, coached for me. He was my wide receiver coach here in 2018. When I got out of coaching, he went on to coach for Coach Strohmeyer at Iowa Western for a few years, and he recruited him personally. So they obviously have a great relationship, and now, I lean on Coach Johnson still on some recommendations on some guys. Him and Hunter had a good relationship, and he's just got a lot of guys over the years, similar to myself, that they've recruited. And so that was a guy that I, he was brought to me by our director of scouting for me to evaluate, because I didn't really even know that he was available. And I just contacted Coach Johnson for a character reference and just kind of a work ethic thoughts. But he, I think, really could be a special indoor player. His ball skills, not the fastest guy in the world, and probably that's why he's not playing outdoor football right now. I think it's going to be for him, in the outdoor, now there's limited opportunities. You're talking about basically 3 leagues, that are paying enough money to that you can do it for a living. 2 of those are driven by speed. There's literally comes down to 40 times. And that's probably the thing that he lacks the most. But as far as work ethic, character, elite ball skills, he's a guy that really should excel in the indoor game, because he is explosive. It's just what he lacks is the top end speed.
Michael Slater. What you want to tell us a little bit about him as well?
So Michael Slater, I did coach against. He played at Iowa Central and played for a friend of mine there. He ended up he went to University of Iowa out of high school. He was kind of a big time guy. Ended up leaving, going to Iowa Central. Played really, really well at Iowa Central. Ended up finishing at University of Central Oklahoma, again in the MIAA. He was an all-region D2 guy, which, again, if you're an all-region D2 guy, you're as good as most people out there. The unique part for him, we kind of recruited him with the understanding that we were going to be playing AFL rules at the time. We'll see again where it lands here, because he played at about 280. He's weighing about 260. If we have to go Ironman, he'll really probably struggle on the offensive line, but he would be a freak on the defensive line. We originally recruited him thinking, again, old school AFL rules, where he's going to be that fullback doing mostly pass blocking, playing that Mike linebacker who's, a little bit of gap control, but 80% blitz, who, again, he's a natural pass rusher. It was kind of a perfect fit. So if we end up getting a little bit of a tweak in the rules, he's a guy that will have to kind of reconsider where his value is and see where he comes into camp. Weight wise, just to be able to compete, because looking at other signees in the league, there's guys that are 340 and even bigger, and less athletic than him. But if a guy just decides the bull rush physics is going to take over, and he'll be a guy that we're just setting up for failure. So really good, talented guy. Where he's going to fit, where his puzzle piece is going to fit into the whole thing, really not sure yet.
What about Sunday Dane? Absolutely behemoth of a human.
Sunday is a guy I just kind of contacted randomly as I started evaluating XFL and USFL guys that might get left in the dust after the merger. He played for the Orlando Guardians. And one of my former players, Lakia Henry, who played at Ole Miss, who was the #1 linebacker recruit in the nation that year, played for Orlando last year. So again, it helps me connect the dots on guys getting my foot in the door. I'm less of a stranger if I can, if I have someone in common. So he responded. We got to talking. He's back home, which happens to be in Des Moines now, working again. He's lost a little bit of weight since he played, so we've got him on kind of a 3-month plan to get his caloric intake up and get him back going. He's plenty active. It was just a matter of, thinking that maybe you're never going to play football again kind of changes how you train. But if he can come into camp, in the 280 to 285 range, I would think that he would be a really good player at this level. He's all of 6'6", 6'7", played at North, again, he's a Storm territory guy.
Yeah.
Just not born and raised, played at Northwest Oklahoma right down the road. But he's got the length that we were looking for in trying to protect the quarterback. And, we weren't looking necessarily for a lot of veterans, and we weren't looking necessarily for a lot of big fat guys.
Yeah.
No offense. I'm a big fat guy too. So, but we were looking for guys that project, that can turn around and rush the passer after protecting the quarterback. And, it's so hard to get to the quarterback anyway at this level. My logic has always been, if I can't get there, then I better be tall.
Yeah.
Let me disrupt some throwing lanes and take away maybe some quick game with my long arms with my guys. We can teach them, if you're not there, if you don't have a clean lane of the quarterback in the first two steps, let's start trying to bat balls down. And so he's a guy that definitely fits that bill. And I would think if he comes into camp with, kind of at least remotely close to where he was last year in the XFL, he's a guy that I would think people would have a tough time displacing from the lineup for us.
The last guy that I have on to talk about was actually just recently named as one of the 10 guys that have been signed so far across the entire league as guys that are potential standouts this year. Lashard Durr.
Yep.
No surprise that he was named there.
I feel like our roster's pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought that list honestly was kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
Is he? I won't even know if he's the best guy on our team.
Yeah.
Based on that list, that didn't say best players in the league. It said players to watch.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But he's got to come in and earn a job just like everybody else. But however, pedigree's pretty good.
Yeah.
Played 2 years in the SEC. As a starter. Got a shot to play in some preseason games with the Colts. He wasn't just we've got other guys that have been in rookie camps and NFL camps. But he's a guy that actually made it to preseason, made it to the final cut. I really am pleased with where our secondary has gone, and not just because of him. With Damian's speed and what he's going to bring to the table, with Lashard and what his, obviously his pedigree and what he probably will be able to do when he gets here. Lawson is just a playmaker. And now, again, if we do end up with the 4 DBs on defense, or even 3 that, they're talking about from a specialist standpoint, he could be a guy that has a lot of takeaway ability. If you watch his film, he's, really active. Yeah. He's involved in everything. He was like 3-time all-conference. He was like a 2-time conference player of the year type guy. Our secondary is really good, and we're about to sign 2 more potentially that are both every bit as good as those. We're hoping that we can figure out a way to get 4 on the field. But right now we're counting on them 3 being on the field. Yeah. We just don't know where it's going to land, and might have to have receivers playing DB at times. And again, just the rules are going to be what they're going to be. But we've got to prepare right now until they finalize them. We've got to prepare for 4 different situations. But Lashard's, not to take away from his name being on that list. But I feel like we're pretty salty on the back end. And, I think in the next 2 weeks, we get infinitely better on the back end of our defense as well.
That's what I reposted. And I said, I promise that I'm sure he's a great player, but there's going to be a lot more guys than just him, that by the end of this year, that there's going to be a lot of names that have Southwest Kansas Storm at the end of it. That
I would hope so.
So if all goes well, we plan to be there. I'm going to shift the conversation to you a little bit.
Okay.
Super Bowl coming up. What are your thoughts on the 2 teams that made it?
Well, probably, although not throughout the whole year because they both struggled at times, probably the 2 most complete teams. Although some people would say that the Chiefs upsetting the Ravens was an upset. Yes and no. I think that here's what I found. great players, you never question their ability to go win a ball game. And I think some things were said in the media that threw down a gauntlet especially to Mahomes about not being able to win on the road, never had a road game, blah, 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 blah. Just go down the line. And it's obvious he took it personal as well. I think the whole team took it personal, and they're out to prove a point. I think San Francisco being a favorite is a better situation for the Chiefs. I think they've thrived in the underdog role.
Yeah.
And I really do think that they will probably win. In my estimation, they have the good run defense. Now, San Francisco, Shanahan, he's a great coach, great schemer. They got a lot of weapons, but based off the past 2 playoff games, Purdy has really not played well other than the second half this last game.
Yeah.
And I think the Chiefs secondary is one of the elite secondaries in the league, and their pass rush is up there and probably in the top 5. I think they end up winning the game, personally.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think you could flip a coin. I mean, hard to bet against Andy Reid. It really is. Because I didn't bet last weekend, but I would have bet on the Ravens. I mean, I didn't think, nothing about the Chiefs to that point said that they were going to play the way they did. Now, they probably win 3 more games if they catch some footballs in some other games.
Yeah.
And you never know, just because they didn't catch them, if they do in any given game, they're pretty dangerous. Now, with that being said, they were right where they said, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I said, I'd be shocked if the Chiefs scored more than 17. That's why I thought they would lose. They did score 17. Yeah. I didn't think they'd win with 17. Yeah. I assumed that the Ravens would be capable of 21 to 27-ish, and they didn't. So credit to Andy Reid's first half. I thought they were and Nagy, but they were efficient. What was he, 11 of 12 coming out of the gate? Probably would have been 12 of 12. I think it was a drop ball that ended up, not tying the record. But they ran the ball well. They out-formationed them. They point of attacked them. But almost more credit to the defense of the Chiefs putting, it's just hard when you get behind the sticks and maybe I know the guy that's been getting shredded all week is the OC for the Ravens because they only ran the ball 6 times or something in the second half. They threw the ball 32 times or whatever it was. And, that's not their identity. It's not how they got that far. But pressure changes things. So I could make a strong argument for or against either team. I really honestly think it's a coin flip. And I've never necessarily, I grew up a Rams fan. Yeah. So, I got a lot of respect for Joe Montana and Steve Young and Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Tom Rathman and Roger Craig, and watching those guys growing up, that was who I got to watch, when I was a young kid watching the NFL, and rooting for Jim Everett and Flipper Anderson and Henry Ellard and Eric Dickerson and all those guys. So being in the same conference, I was never I was hated the 49ers. I wasn't necessarily a Chiefs fan either, because the Raiders were in LA at the time too. But moving here, it's obviously I'm surrounded by a lot of Chiefs fans, and you can't hate on what they've accomplished. The people that hated the Patriots, they hated them because they won too much. That's the only argument right now you can make why people don't like the Chiefs. Wow, they win too much. Well, why is that a bit? At some point you got to tip your cap, or at least address the fact that they're doing things that no one's done in 100 years of football. What they're doing year in and year out, and even doing it now that Mahomes isn't on a rookie contract, and some of your better athletes you had to let go, and they haven't. They've maybe downticked a little bit on offense. Kelsey's getting a little bit older. The receivers aren't quite as dynamic as they've been in the past, but the defense is better, and it's offset each other. And I'd put Andy Reid up against a whole. Shanahan too, but man, Andy Reid just makes.
He's just good, man.
He makes things look very, very easy.
Yeah, and he's done it 2 different teams and done it well with both of them.
For sure. Tested over a long period of time, different franchises, different league, different conferences. Absolutely.
I know that we are a week and a half out. If you had to put a score line on it, what would your guys' score lines be?
As far as the spread, or what I think the score is going to be?
the score will be.
Oh man.
Or actually, let's do both.
Well, it's going to be indoors in Vegas, correct? So that takes some of the guesswork out of it. I would think it's probably going to be, man, I'm going to say 28-24ish, 27-24ish. But I don't know who's got which number. You can make an argument for even lower, maybe 24-21, just because you've got two, really elite groups. And when the 49ers haven't played well, they really haven't played well.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs could cause them problems, and you could see a Niners team that scores 17-20.
Mm-hmm.
But you very easily could, a couple turnovers, and all of a sudden they're flirting with 31.
Yeah.
It really is. I kind of just in my gut, 27-24 sounds like a reasonable score.
That sounds reasonable.
But I think you honestly could throw a dart at the wall, and it could be either one of them on either side of that.
I think the key is if the Chiefs can stop the run of the 49ers and make Purdy pass, I think that's huge in favor of the Chiefs. Yeah. Because the
first time we've had a Rottweiler on film.
Yeah, we have a new guest.
I
guess he wants to give his
Storm mascot. Let me get him out of here.
I don't know. Looking at what I didn't get to watch a whole lot of the Chiefs game. Honestly didn't realize they were on as early as they were. But if somebody put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, what's the score?" I feel like 27-21. I do, although I am not a Chiefs fan by nature, I do think Chiefs win 27-21. That's just where I'm sitting at. Whether I'm right or wrong, I guess we'll find out.
I don't think any guess is a bad guess at this point. It's all of them. There's enough scenarios that have come up that you could make an argument for a lot of different scores.
Yes.
And it really just comes down to execution. And
Mm-hmm.
it seems like both teams are as healthy as they're going to be, and both of them can cause a lot of problems for each other, depending on. I feel like the Chiefs will come out hot.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the 49ers take a second to get rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, I don't know how many unique looks that the Chiefs will throw at them early, and I think that's what kind of throws them off is they're so. I don't want to say dynamic, but they're so variable on offense.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers are that sometimes if you give them some different wrinkles, it causes them some problems and takes them a minute to adjust. But, as you saw the other day, it was once they did adjust.
Yeah.
He did not seem bothered at all to be down 17 at half.
No.
Most people, that's a very, very, very uncomfortable place to be. And, he didn't seem rattled at all. And I think the big turning point was that turnover, the fumble where the running back was on the wrong side, had the wrong arm down, never got possession and put it on the ground. And that was just kind of where you felt like the air just go, oh man, here we go.
No, I can't say I disagree with any of that take at all. But let's move back toward the league that actually matters, the Arena Football League.
Like where your head's at.
Yeah. They have started. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at the app much.
I honestly have not. I've got a lot bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't even know they had an app. To be perfectly honest.
Well,
they do.
Yep, they do. So this is kind of what it looks like. Obviously, fans can't see it, but maybe I'm on Wi-Fi that's not working. Maybe, but so Page's latest news. Again, it's not loading. Promise there's stuff on there. I know that the goal with all of that is to get news about the players. They've started putting player news out, team news out.
Yep.
They put something out about us this last week and kind of gives a preview. And I know it's looking through it and it kind of is seeing it's hard to have a preview of teams that
don't even have a full roster signed yet.
Yeah. And the teams that have played like us, Salina, Wichita, our rosters look nothing like they did last year.
Right. Absolutely.
And we're in a completely different league. But I don't know. I'm excited about what that's going to do for the fan engagement aspect of it. And I believe that at some point they're going to have one of the betting apps tied in directly to it. So
yeah, without dropping names, I mean, there was one that I had heard early on, which is one of the largest ones. And I don't see why that wouldn't happen. And I don't want to say that, and maybe I wasn't supposed to say it, or maybe it's the wrong one. But Kansas, we got legal sports gambling here, so we're on top of the world here.
We'd encourage you to go out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't, but you're more than what Cody can. I can't. Players can't, but I do think that brings a little bit, and I know there was people out there that may or may not even watch this that were, against smaller markets, being out there. And I can't emphasize enough that small market with big name recognition. And I think when people see our roster, this was a place that people told me when I was a college coach where careers come to die and that you can't ever win here. And we won here early and often and a lot. And we're going to do the same thing in the AFL. Our roster is as complete as anybody else. We are talented in every aspect. We will be disciplined and well coached. And from what it sounds like, we just got to be in the top 2 to get into the dance. So if we got to find a way to stay in that top 2 in our conference. And get ourselves to Vegas and keep Cody under control while we're in Vegas to make sure he gets to watch the game. But I don't even know if you knew that the playoffs are.
No, I had no idea.
Two rounds of playoffs, and they're both in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So if we make it in the top 2, we go to Vegas. If we win, we go back to Vegas the next week, and then the championship is in Minneapolis. So I know that just changed your entire summer schedule.
It's all right.
I
think I can deal with it.
I know. But I feel good about where we're at. I really do. I like, and I really feel our last kind of 6 to 8 signees here that will, hopefully have contracts signed here shortly. We're kind of waiting on some bigger fish here, and that's where we're being very scrutinizing. Lots of guys. There's guys that we're looking at that are better than maybe what we have signed right now, but we don't want to sign them because we think we've got a better guy behind him. So now it's just a waiting game of plugging in these last few pieces. And I really feel like these last 6 to 8 signees will be some of the better players that this league will see, which really gives me, a lot more optimism on where we could be at the end of the year. And
makes it a little easier to sleep when you lay down at night.
Yeah, well, during the season, it's hard to sleep. I take that way. It's not hard to sleep because you're so tired that, it's easy to sleep because you're just exhausted and you're just wiped by about the 3rd week because you've been doing it for 6 weeks at that point. But it does lower the stress level a little bit, knowing that, if we can be athletic enough and violent enough up front, that we don't have to be perfect in everything that we do and trying to generate points and trying to create, a couple turnovers or, a couple stops on defense. Hopefully our athleticism hides a lot of things schematically and it hides a lot of things, X and O wise.
The lack of athleticism shows a lot of
it does
things
for sure. So, I think we're going to be in a position to, be athletic. Obviously we're going to have to put some structure to that and again, be disciplined, hold guys accountable. But I don't see many scenarios along the way where we just get completely out athleted. Not saying that's not possible and not taking anything away from the other teams. Because I've seen, quite a few of their signees and they've got guys too. This is professional sports. Everybody's getting paid to play at this point. So I don't look at anyone and go, well, that guy's not going to be a problem. I don't think that's, a realistic thing at this level. It's we can't control anything that they do outside of, our town here. So all we can control is the things that, who we sign, how we put our playbook together and, how we assemble our roster and, how we can stay healthy during camp and all that kind of stuff. But, if we can control those things, I know that's coach speak, control what you can control. But, I feel pretty good, about the position we're in. And I honestly couldn't have dreamed that we'd be as talented as we are right now back in July when I took the job, this wasn't ever really somewhere where I thought we could land. I thought we'd have a chance to be pretty good and quite competitive early. But this is kind of even out kicked where I thought we might be at this point.
When do you anticipate camp starting?
It's April 1.
April 1.
April 1, yeah. First game is April 28th. Scrimmage on April 13th.
And
13th and 20th.
13th is here, right?
Yeah, 13th is in Salina. 20th is home versus Wichita. There'll be more NFL joint practice type atmospheres. So it's not really it is a scrimmage, but it's going to be very controlled, not live quarterbacks. We'll work some pass stuff and just very, very individualized stuff, working to some group stuff, and then do a couple live things at the end. Some situational stuff, a little bit of kicking game. But yeah, that's April 13th up in Salina, April 20th here, and then we kick off April 28th, which is a Sunday, against Salina.
Gotcha. First home game is May 4th.
Yep.
I have it down. I don't remember who it is.
I think it's a Saturday because we turn around, we go Sunday, Saturday.
I think it's Wichita, isn't it?
It very well could be.
It is Iowa.
There you go. Yeah. So it's going to come out as fast, but I mean, a 3-week camp. We're going to do some, I think, unique things during camp and kind of tiering how we bring guys in to try to get good at some things in packages instead of just bringing in 35 guys and trying to install all at once. I think we're going to do it, try to compartmentalize some things in working to week 2, and then, giving ourselves enough time to prepare for the scrimmage where we don't just look like a clown show.
Yeah. So another big piece of news within the Arena Football League within the last couple of weeks, signed a sponsorship exclusive with Nike. So we'll have some pretty cool gear to wear.
Yeah, at some point I've seen some other teams have opened up their fan gear shop. So I'm guessing at some point ours isn't probably too far behind. And I don't know if the teams are doing that or if that's coming through the league or both. But yeah, Nike is the official gear sponsor for game day. Again, the league is very structured in what we can wear as coaches, very structured in what the players can wear on their bodies during games. That's where advertising money is king. But yeah, they're from what I've seen, they're going to treat the players really well. Like every guy's getting like 2 pairs of shoes, like 5 shirts, like 3 pairs of shorts, all kinds of in-game gear. And they're, again, unless you have some kind of endorsement deal, which I would think that nobody at this level is going to have any kind of endorsement deal. There's going to be a lot of Nike and Jordan stuff on game day, from what it sounds like. So. And coaches as well. They've told us exactly we get fined if we don't wear certain things. So I know what I'll be wearing.
Have that nice swoosh, right?
There will be a swoosh somewhere that they can see.
But do want to remind you as fans, if there's a store out there that is not directly from us, it is probably not real. So make sure that you are not.
Yes.
My regular time job, have that come up all the time.
And I see every time we kind of drop something, we get spammed on our Facebook account with some random stuff. So if it is not, if something isn't released by the team, it is a scam, and do not enter your credit card and try to order something.
Yeah, no, definitely not. We will not ever ask for it either.
Yes, for sure.
If you get a call from the Southwest Kansas Storm saying we need your information, we don't need your information. Go directly to the arena, call the arena directly. And when we get store set up, we'll have that all out. Well, guys, as we wrap up, what else do you want to say about the excitement about what's coming down in the next 2 months?
It's going to be fun. I think. I'm like I said, I'm excited about where we're at today. I'm excited about where we could end up, 2 weeks from now, as far as, the way our roster will kind of finalize. And then I'm excited, started working on some playbook stuff already. Got a lot of notes and stuff, but I got to put it into the computer program and create the actual, playbook for the guys so we can get that out. you know, before they get here, and just let them familiarize themselves with some terms. But that's, you know, that's the fun part of football is, you know, the roster building is fun, but at a certain point you just feel like you're making sales calls, and that's not as fun. You know, so the X's and O's it was always what really drew me to football was the mathematic cat and mouse battle, you know, and plugging in, you know, mismatches and designing stuff, and we're going to go over a lot of stuff, and we may not look like a traditional arena team. We'll have some things that people have never done in the Arena League, and you know, maybe they'll work, maybe they won't, and we're gonna find out.
One way to find out.
Yeah. So I mean, we're gonna try things that people, you know, have not been willing to try in the past, and you know, so it's also about what you can teach. You know, I can have all the great ideas in my head, but if I can't convey them in a fast enough manner, and sometimes limit again what we're doing, so guys aren't confused and they can play fast. That's also going to be the tipping point for me in figuring out how much is too much. You know, at some point, are we just better? Do we need to dumb it down a little? Not necessarily dumb it down. Do we need to pare stuff down and just let our athletes be better? You know, or do we need to generate some free yards and some easy touches, and, you know, get confidence early in game? You know, Andy Reid does it at the NFL level. You know, those screens aren't just for fun. You know, those are a high percentage, you know, basically a spinoff of the run game. And he's just trying to create easy touches, easy completions, get confidence, spread the defense out a little bit, open up some room so he just doesn't have to mash people up front, but can still generate a running game. You know, so, you know, we're not going to be any different. You know, not to take a page out of their book, but, you know, I know Arena Football League in the past has been, you know, super high flying, and we intend to do that too. And I think we have some guys that are fit to do that, but you know, we want to be able to manufacture yards whenever and wherever we need them to. So we have to have a little something for everything.
Dr. Walters?
I think just the excitement and the anticipation from the fans' perspective of the unknown. You know, I know that the last couple of seasons may not have been what the fans expected or wanted, but the elevation of the league, and you can definitely tell by what Gary has done and his staff has done of signing these different guys, the talent level undoubtedly has gone up 3 or 4 notches, and I think people are excited about that.
Well, guys, I want to thank you both for being on.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And
thank you much.
Southwest Kansas, don't forget, there's a storm coming.